Nah, it should be going soon.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. It's taking a little long. Why is it? It'll start eventually.
It will. I trust the process.
That's so strange.
That's so.
Having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. Huh. All right, let's try it one more time. Here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tempestade Talk. This is, of course, your local eye on the Seattle Storm. Erica L. Ayala here, along with Hiedeman F. Rodriguez. And we have a lot to talk about. We, of course, are going to talk about, Hiedeman in particular is going to talk about training camp. First few days of training camp under the Sonia Raman era. We have some updates, injury updates on the cord franchise player. We have to
My
talk about
God.
Magbegor, but don't fear. And it might sound weird if you know about weather, but a category 4 is coming to Seattle, and I think it's going to be a good thing. We'll get into all of that and more on today's episode of Tempestade Talk.
You have 3 people who are selfless like that, 3 people who are dangerously disciplined like that, and you have a coach that also embodies all of those characteristics. You can expect good basketball.
I love interacting with the fans. I'm excited for them to cheer for us because it's hell when you come here. I even welcome people that could be skeptical because it's new.
There's going to be a standard of excellence and discipline in everything that we do.
The Pacific Northwest, this area, how passionate they are. It's culture everywhere, but it's great culture here. That's what I want to be a part of, to compete for a championship. That's everybody's goal. And I think it's just how we go about things and habits that we create. I want to be around winners that'll help us get closer to that.
And that's what the fans can expect. And we're going to have some fun.
All right. Welcome to Tempestade Talk. And listen, especially those of you who are already in our Slack channel, we're taking suggestions. Are there things you want to see in the new intro? We're working on that.
Yeah.
I, for one, I'm hoping that we, I'm not going to be part of the creation. But anyway, I'm hoping that we keep the Ezzy block on Cam Brink. That's probably one of my favorite photos. It goes so hard. But again, this is Tempestade Talk, and this is keeping your local eye on the Seattle Storm. Erica L. Ayala here, your founder of Black Rosie Media, along with Hiedeman F. Rodriguez. And we have a lot to talk about. Training camps have opened. Yes, training camps have opened all throughout the WNBA. Preseason starts this weekend, so we'll see some debuts. We got a broadcast schedule, and one team, if you had to guess, put it in the chat. You probably already know, but if you had to guess one team that is getting 44, all 44 games on national TV, and it's your... No,
I'll give a tip. Dairy.
Oh my goodness. Here you go.
I started early today.
Tammy talking about a player that's actually on the team would be good. I know. I'm like, yo, that is so out of date. I think Jordan is in there somewhere. So
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my God.
Jordan's in there somewhere. But yes, we now have training camp clips. So we can do that because, again, with everything and the CBA, it was kind of, everyone was at a little bit of a standstill. But now that we have clips, we can.
Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that we're going to be there as much as we can in person. I juggle a day job with WNBA reporting, so this week's Seattle Storm media availability were all in mandate office days for me. So I could only I took PTO to go to media day, but whenever I am able to be, boots on the ground, we're gonna be there to bring you just exclusive content and just to see how things are progressing. I really missed going to those to the following to the remaining practices during the week, because the first one on its own was so eye-opening. We were able to see so much in just the first day of training camp that I feel like I've missed a lot from not being able to go to the other
Hey,
one.
well, and I mean, you did a great job. So you don't even have to apologize. We're just so grateful that you are our local eye on the storm. And we're going to get into that's the great thing. Like, we still do have a lot of access. So you don't even have to worry about that, Hoeta. You're doing a great job. You got some
Yeah,
great stuff.
just
We've already had some clips on, but let's get into the show. Like, let's talk about what's happening with the Seattle Storm. It's again, training camp opened on Sunday. It's a new coach, a new system that's probably very familiar to New York Liberty fans. I mean, Sonia Raman did work under Sandy Brondello. And listen, from day one, there's already a lot of energy, which I think is fantastic. And we heard from Sonia Raman that this is going
yeah,
to be a positionless offense. She then did clarify that on day 2, because positionless, and I think some of her comments, and
yeah.
again, also thinking about New York, positionless is, I never liked the term, and I still don't like positionless basketball, but she did clarify they will be put into a 1 through 5 system, but the idea is to have a lot of freedom. And we're going to hear from Flau'Jae, we're going to hear from Dominique Malonga, and from Sonia Raman about that. But this is a team that wants to be able to score in transition. They want to be able
Yeah.
to use their length. And, it's a roster that is built around the athleticism of their, especially front court. Now, as we saw at the report on Black Rosie Media, we do have an update on Ezi Magbegor. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but first let's hear actually from Sonia Raman about what this system is actually going to be like.
And the team that prides themselves on getting stops. And I think if we can do those things, then it just comes down to make or miss, and, I'll take that. But I think that getting them to, go step by step with this process is going to be really important, and not thinking in terms of, where that ceiling is, but just thinking in terms of growth every day and how we can grow. It was my hope that we were going to have a roster that would be, would allow me to lean into that. We had some different ideas there in terms of how we wanted to play, but knowing that we would need to make some tweaks based on who our roster is, right? We want to play to the strengths of the women that we have on the team. So wasn't set in stone by any means in terms of what we had, but as soon as we started to see that we had this type of collection of talent, then certainly I was able to lean in more to that side of my kind of coaching style as well.
The playing style that we have today is really, it's a fast pace, it's positionless, so I'll have the opportunity to be on different position on the floor and just be efficient in any position that I will be in. I think the word for this season is really efficiency, and that's really what I wanna be in the pocket. So I'm just literally working on my finishes, my shooting, like all the stuff, and yeah, nothing really crazy, just me being me, bringing the energy all the time, and that's what I try to do.
What I'll bring to the Storm, I think just like the athleticism, that quickness. I'm very quick in how Coach Sonia wants to play. I think that I can do that exceptionally well, shoot the 3 ball very well, but also my defense. I've been working on just being in the right space, being disruptive. I got a steal today. So I'm working on both of that, but I feel like that's something that can make an immediate impact. So yeah, just being a disruptor.
Well, this Seattle Storm team is looking to disrupt, where the franchise has been, Hoeta. So you were there for the first 2 days, including for that media day, and we'll hear questions that you asked, and we'll hear from Dom and Flau'Jae and Coach Raman throughout the show. But, when you hear and have heard what Coach is saying, and in the observations that you were able to make in the first few days, I mean, what are you seeing as far as the Seattle Storm version and maybe the Sonia Raman version of positionless basketball?
We're seeing, from what I have seen, they are walking their talk. This is a very young They have a very young core, and I say that before expanding on it because it's energy, explosion, positionless, trying to understand how each other is going to better um, contribute to the team. So we already see that being implemented from day one, and we see the same message across the board. Every single player who stepped in to speak to media had the same thing in mind. So that makes sense for this team. And I've even last week and the other weeks, the main thing was that the Seattle Storm was a question mark, right? We had no idea what to expect. We had no idea what the coach wanted. We didn't know if the players knew what was expected of them. Now we are starting to see a path for this team. We're starting to see where they are trying to get and accomplish this season. And it is growth. I wanted to ask Sonia that question about what she see as the ceiling for this team, and she said that if we see the team doing what they agree to do, if they are being efficient, then that's their ceiling. So it's development, and it makes sense for a roster that is as young as this one.
Yeah, they're young. They're going to move well. Dominique Malonga, I think, moves exceptionally well at her height. So does Ezzy. We know Flau'Jae talked about wanting to bring energy and can really push the pace. And, I truly do believe in having a true 1 and a true 5 at minimum, even if everything else is positionless. So I'm very curious also to see how Natisha Hiedeman is going to fit. If it's more positionless, it might not matter as much. But what we do know about Hiedeman is that I do think she's a player that absolutely fits into a system that's looking to push pace.
I agree with you, and that's one of the ways that this roster is going to be so connected, even if there is a lot of growth and not that many wins. We're going to see connection among the players. Natisha Hiedeman does play a fast pace. We could see when she was on the court with the Minnesota Lynx. Yes, Courtney Williams also play at a fast pace, but I feel that Natisha Hiedeman is even faster. So that's going to work really well, especially on that connection with Flau'Jae, who likes to move around and said
Yeah.
herself that she brings a lot of athleticism. I think that Natisha Hiedeman is going to thrive with this system.
Yeah, you talk about athleticism, and anytime you're talking about training camp, and we're having this conversation over at Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, brought to you by Black Rosie Media. But it's anytime you talk about training camp and things that are different from last year, when there's been a coaching change or significant roster change, it almost inevitably feels like you're comparing the two. And excuse me, in some ways we are, right? That being said,
It's inevitable.
last year's roster, I wouldn't say was unathletic. It was an
No.
extremely athletic roster. I mean, Skylar Diggins can play in that kind of system. NECA can play in that system, and it's and I also I poo-poo at people who think that NECA or Sky, Courtney VanSlooten is getting a lot of heat these days.
Yeah.
I still don't think. Let's not forget. Sue Bird in this very franchise, the Seattle Storm, played into her 40s. Diana Taurasi into her 40s. Cynthia Cooper won MVPs deep into her late 30s, and then I don't know, just won 4 consecutive titles with the Houston Comets. So I don't like this kind of ageist conversation that seems to be permeating through the WNBA right now. And the last time a rookie was very vocal about what I would consider ageism, well, it didn't go so well in Connecticut. If you know, you know. But anyway, I think what I'm trying to say is last year's team did not fail to meet expectations for lack of athleticism, for lack of ability to push the pace. There were other things, and we've talked about those things. So when I see a young team that wants to push the pace and they have the pieces, and Sonia Raman in that clip that we played alluded to it, right? It wasn't her necessarily creating a system or having a system in mind and then making whatever players came through a part of that system. And it wasn't, let's see who we get and then we pick a system. It was a little bit of a back and forth, and she was prepared to, of course, set the team up for success. And what I'm alluding from what she said is that the way this roster was constructed also is conducive with the style of basketball that she wants to play. And again, coming from a Sandy Brondello system, which is more laissez-faire, Sandy Brondello puts a lot of responsibility on her players. That's a really intriguing thing to see with such young players. And again, I have a lot of thoughts, and we even have something that we're teeing up for the women's basketball roundup, where I'll break this down from the New York Liberty perspective, and I want to do it down the road also for the Seattle Storm perspective. But I think there's a lot of potential here. And I think the difference for me, Hobeta, is it seems like potential. It seems like excitement, not only, yes, because it's a new coach and it's a new season, but also there's not the same expectation. We're not hearing it's championship win now window. This is a team that has not committed to if it's a total retool or a rebuild. Not really, but it sounds like they're willing to take a step and just be where their feet are.
Yeah, and this is really good to hear because, as I said first, it's about walking the talk, and I think there was a lot of pressure in the previous years, especially when they brought in Nakagumake and Skylar Diggins, who are proven winners in this league. Nakagumake herself is MVP. She is a WNBA champion. So when you have those players on your roster, you expect win now. You expect championship run. But we did not see that. What we saw was a lot of ups and downs. We saw inconsistency, and we saw a team that was never able to finish post half of the season, and even after half times. The Seattle Storm's third quarters in the previous years were the death of them. We didn't see them producing. And I think that the youngness of the Seattle Storm means something in this case, not to be ageist, but to highlight the message. You want extreme athleticism and speed, versatility and growth. Players who are going to grow together. When you look at the Storm roster, you have you have 4 players with more than 5 years of experience in the league. When you put a positionless basketball message to your team, it gives those players room to figure out what they can contribute best with their abilities to their roster. So this fully matches what the Seattle Storm is trying to convey to the fans, and the roster construction makes sense. I think that's what really missed in the previous years. There was always a weird mix of really proven veterans and completely young players who you still don't know what they're going to do, or even players who are in the middle, but they haven't really been able to prove their full capacity in the league. And we talk even of Katie Lou Samuelson, we also don't know when she's going to be back. We have Lexie Brown, who last year had 2.1 points per game. Zaya Cooke 3.5. So when we heard those messages and we saw the roster construction, it didn't click. It didn't make a lot of sense. And even with them saying what they were aiming, and even with the basketball, it didn't make sense. This roster now makes sense. It was built heavily on draft. Jade Melbourne, she wasn't drafted this year, but I think she was drafted by the Storm. If I'm not, I might be very wrong about this, but
I don't remember, but I will look
but
it up. You keep talking.
yeah, but she started with the Storm earlier, and she's back now. So we see that there is. I talked about the connection and how I think this is going to work, because it seems like everyone is not everyone, but most of them are on the same level, and most of them are trying to achieve the same thing
Yeah,
in this league.
2022 third round. So yeah,
Seattle
for
Storm?
Jade. Yes, Seattle
Yeah,
Storm
yeah,
for
it's
Jade.
Storm.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. Craig's saying uh everybody everybody wants to get steals and rebounds and score in transition. What happens in the half court? Well, I think some of that is just, the ability to be able to get stops. I think, but it's an interesting question because, is this team that is positionless and perhaps without, not necessarily a true point guard, although I might make that argument, but definitely without a WNBA experienced point guard. How do you then get the offense going in the half court? I think is an interesting question. It's not really where the team is at, but it's training camp. And honestly, if you're going to be
Yes.
a team that's in transition, I bet they're running a lot because you have to be fit in order to play that game. So it's an interesting question, Craig, one that we don't have an answer to. I also, you mentioned Lexie Brown, and we'll talk about some players like Melbourne and Brown, and even Steph Dolson, right? Towards the end of this episode. But, assuming that Lexie Brown is healthy, I think this is also the type of system that will benefit her. It's been a really long time since we've been able to see her make an impact. Some of that is to do with health, but we heard from Lexie Brown last season in exit interviews. She made it abundantly clear that she was healthy and was able to get on the court. It just didn't happen. So that's going to be interesting, but it's not without the problems. I think training camp for the most part is like, everyone's feeling
Yeah.
great. There's a lot of excitement. You're getting to see your teammates again, reunite with teammates from college or the W or overseas. You're introducing rookies, and there's all this excitement. We got to see some of the WNBA players from the Seattle Storm go to a Seattle Torrent game.
They
Um,
loved it. Almost
oh,
all
I
of them
loved it.
talked
I
about
was
it.
like, it's amazing. So
Yeah.
that was fantastic. I love a strong crossover. And it does come with its challenges, which includes not everyone is healthy.
Mm,
And that right now is Ezzy Magbegor. I told y'all last time I would flip a table if we don't see Ezzy utilized at the
there
rate
you
that she's
go.
going. I'm not going to flip a table today. One, because I need this table to do this podcast, but also because, it's not ideal. 6 to 8 weeks for Ezzy Magbegor, who, again, we had this debate on last week's episode. Is she going to be the go-to player? At the pay rate, you would assume so. And there were questions because Ezzy has never had to play that role in Seattle. Again,
Yeah.
she has played that role for Australia, but she's never had to do that in Seattle. What is that going to look like? Well, we're going to have to wait. So, I want to, and I know we posted a video where you talked about this, but, Ezzy still is in camp. So she seems in good
She
spirits. She's participating and contributing on the leadership side of things,
mm-hmm.
but not on the court due to this injury. What were
No.
you hearing from the first 2 days of training camp about that?
So it seems like the role that's expected of Ezzy this year is leadership and really gluing that team together, being the glue that connects the team. She knows not only the system, but she knows the franchise. She knows usually how the franchise communicates. So she's going to lead, and she mentioned that in the press conference media day. She said I'm not the loudest in the room, but I lead with my actions, basically. That's not verbatim. So she said that she's going to lead with her actions, with the things that she does, and even what she asks of the team. And she is doing that in training camp. There was even I think it was Jade who said something about Ezzy speaking in the huddle. No, it was Jordan Horston, because the after the first day, Ezzy kind of took the lead in speaking, so she had to speak a little louder. And Jordan said that players were like, "Whoa, Ezzy, are you yelling?" Because she is very soft-spoken. She is very quiet, but you can see that she's stepping into that role. She also said that she doesn't feel any pressure about um, having the highest salary on the team. She feels empowered by it, and she sees it as an opportunity to show what she can do on the court. So right now she can't really contribute with basketball, but she is contributing in a leadership role because she might not be the most experienced on the team. That would be Stephanie Dolson, but she is the player who has been with the Seattle Storm the most. She won a championship with them, and she's going to fulfill that role.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing to say because I probably wouldn't have felt this way last week. Having Ezzy be able to step back and have to contribute through only her leadership is honestly probably a really good yes, a test, but also a good opportunity for growth for
Yeah.
Ezzy. I think the
Hmm.
team will benefit, of course, when she returns to the court, and having a more vocal Ezzy, an Ezzy that was able to reflect and look from the outside looking in for some things for this team, I think is really intriguing. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. But another thing is, yes, Ezzy out 6 to 8 weeks, not ideal, but then also Awa Pham has not reported yet. So what does that mean for Steph Dolson, Big Mama Steph? But specifically, what does that mean for Dominique Malonga? Well, Sonia Raman talked a little bit about that, but so did Dom herself. So let's go back to some clips. This is from Media Day. Again, I know, Roberta, you were in the room for this, and we'll hear your voice a little bit later. But
Oh my God.
let's hear from Sonia Raman and Dominique Malonga on the impact of
Yeah.
no Ezzy Magbegor, at least for the first several weeks. As
In
soon
terms
as the
of
video
Ezzy,
plays.
yeah, I mean, Ezzy's a huge part of what we're going to do. I mean, she's a huge part of this organization, this team, and we're really, really excited to have Ezzy with us and back with us. She's really tapping into her leadership ability right now, and that's going to be just a huge part of how she pours into her teammates, and I think they're already feeling it. She knows the game, and she's got just a really good way about her and how she's able to encourage others. And, it's next player up. That's always how it is. We have some really, really good players on this team. We have a really good front court, and we'll be prepared and ready to go. And we'll, of course, be really excited when we get her back.
I don't think it's changed my focus. I've always been a hard worker, and I also ready to step up. I think I just want to bring whatever the team needs from me. How many minutes it's gonna be, I don't know, but I'm just really ready for whatever. Like we talked with the coach, we have a great plan, we have a good group too, and I think we have a lot of strength in this group. It's not gonna only rely on me. We have a lot of great addition too, so I think just it's gonna be a good chemistry, and that's what matters. I think it's not just about one player; it's about this team that we're building.
I mean, so that was Dominique Malonga there. I do want to get back to the impact potentially. Whoops, I'm having all kinds of trouble with our buttons today. Here we go. I do think we talked about Ezzy and her leadership. Just in hearing Dominique Malonga speak, I think she also is a lot more comfortable in her ability to be a leader. And we saw that play out. And Dominique Malonga was asked a little bit about that, that things turned for her roughly around August. And then that really led into the Unrivaled season. And so not only are you having Ezzy Magbegor really step up into her leadership, but Dominique Malonga also is someone who I think is becoming more vocal. She's becoming more confident and comfortable in the role that she's going to play. So I think that's going to be amazing as well. So you have both Ezzy and Dominique that are in your front court are growing in their leadership. Welcome back. I did
I
not
don't know what
for
happened.
those who know, I did not kick Joveta off this time. That's like a running bit that we have here on Tempestade Talk.
Yeah.
That was not me. That was technology.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Everything just refreshed out of nowhere, like out of the blue.
Doesn't want to let us be great. But I was just saying, and I want to get your thoughts here, but it seems like Dominique Malonga is a lot more comfortable, certainly just in speaking with media. And I think she's just getting more comfortable with the WNBA overall. I mean, is that a fair assessment from what you saw in training camp?
Yeah, it is a very fair assessment. And as we were as we were watching that clip, it came back to me how confident she is and how she knows what she's going to bring to this team. So it's really cool to see that she's aware of her role and she already knows what she's going to have to do. To be fair, Dom has always been very confident. That's something that I was able to notice last year in talking to the media and on the court. She's talking to the media and to people, media in general. She has never had an issue to communicate. She has never had a problem to saying exactly what she's thinking, and in a very not in she had never had a problem. And what we see this year on media day was that with even more maturity and knowing what she expects from herself. So it's the thing that we have been talking for a long time. When the message is clear, the players thrive. So we can see that with Dom, and she's very quick to get things on the court and to understand her role. She has, I think that she has a fascinating mind when it comes to how she carries herself both on and off the court. And I'm not saying in terms of behavior, I'm saying as a professional.
Yep.
And I hope people don't understand that the wrong way. Like, she's 20 years old.
Right.
She here in the US, she's still a minor. And is she's more mature than so not minor people. I went more mature than full adults. And the fact that she is going to carry a heavier load at the start of the season is going to be really good for her growth in the league. Last year, we heard about how she was being eased into the league. We were we were. Do you have any feelings about that, Erika?
My feelings are,
If you
if you
have the
have the number
number
two
two
pick,
pick,
you
you
play
play
the
the
number two
number two
pick.
pick.
And so, like, what I'm hearing again, because you're right, you're absolutely right. And I should have used the word maturity instead of like confidence, because that's exactly it. Confidence was never the issue. Dominique Malonga knows exactly who she is. Like, I feel like she is a very, yeah, just that she knows exactly who she is. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was wild to me, and like you said, she picks things up very quickly. I
Very
don't think
quickly.
she suffers from an inflated ego. I think
No.
she is
Mm-mm.
very realistic, and like kind of, I guess, like self-possessed in a way. I don't really like that term. It's kind of weird. Anyway, but she's very self-assured is probably the better way of me saying that. She's very self-assured, and aware. And so I think if you had given her those reps early, it would not have impacted her confidence. If anything, the development would have come along sooner. And
Yeah.
that's what we saw at the back end of last season. And as we see Tammy, I think it was, yeah, here we go. Tammy saying really grew at Unrivaled. I mean, the confidence
Yeah.
was unrivaled. I mean, to the point where she was out there having fun, and so was everyone else, because she has an exciting game. And when you
Yeah.
let her cook, everyone benefits.
Yeah, she was with the young and turned, and that's what they were doing. They
Exactly.
were turning it up. Jordan Horston said that the Seattle Storm is young and turned on
Ooh.
the first day. I think we posted her video,
Yep.
so she does say something about the Storm being young and turned.
I
So
mean, they have
bring that
Flau'Jae,
energy.
so
Yeah.
Flau'Jae, one half of
Dom
Stud Buds.
herself,
Yeah.
Stud Buds,
Oh my
Jordan
gosh.
Horston.
Speaking of Natisha Hiedeman, seeing Mount Rainier for the first time after days is like the most welcome to Seattle thing I probably know.
Yeah,
And
she's
then she
obsessed
talked
with the
about it.
mountain.
She talked about it on social media, and then she talked about it again at training camp and was like, yo, like I've been looking out this window like for the last however many days and I didn't see the mountain, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden out of nowhere
she's
it just
obsessed
popped up.
with it. She's going to become she needs to go on a weather
I was gonna say,
segment.
yeah, what's the
And
account? Yeah. Is can you see Mount Rainier today, right? Isn't that the
yeah,
question or something
there
like
is
that?
there is an Twitter, or
Like an
should we say
account,
the other
yeah.
one,
Yeah.
account that the name is the mountain out
Exactly. No,
today.
even yeah, I know, like, I've never lived in Seattle, but a lot of people, including Hillary Knight, yes, I did shamelessly name drop there. Hillary Knight's like, "Don't you live here?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just always here." But yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I think yes, Craig, from what we're hearing, Awa is the same way. And again, how much of that was coaching? How much of that was front office? Well, maybe we're going to find out
How much that
because
was being European.
maybe we're gonna find out because if you have the number 2 pick, you have to play the number 2 pick. If you have the number 3 pick, you need to play the number 3 pick, because you know who is gonna play the pick that you traded for. We
Yeah.
know Flau'Jae is playing. She's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
get Flau'Jae's not gonna get any like, oh, we're just gonna break it in.
No,
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 no.
no, she's not gonna get that. And uh, if the ceiling is playing cohesively, if the ceiling is to grow together, you have to play these young players. You have to put them
Exactly.
together. And having that clarity is going to make a huge difference for this team's development.
100%. So, I mean, I think it's going to be phenomenal. Does it present different opportunities? Perhaps, maybe for Dominique Malonga, but there's not any added pressure. You've talked about it. Dom said it in a little bit in the clip that we played. And again, even without Awa and Ezzy being available, you still have Steph Dolson there.
Mm-hmm.
You still have, eventually Jordan Horston will make her way back. I think that this is where I don't want to say overload, but the length, right, in the front court from your like shooting or small forward to your center, in theory, right, should pay off for the Seattle
Yeah.
Storm.
And they do have that. They had that last year. But again, the physicality was there, but it seems like something wasn't clicking. This year, this is something that is highlighted from the get-go.
Yep.
And it's also highlighted from, oh, my camera is just falling. You can see it from the draft picks, from the moves that the franchise is trying to make. So you do see the length, the athleticism, the explosion, and that makes things much more clear for this team.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let us know in the chat. What are you most excited for? We are going to hear from Flau'Jae. I mean, talk about energy. So much energy here. Before we move on though, speaking about the front court, let's dive a little bit deeper into Awa Pham and Steph Dolson.
Yeah.
What are we hearing as far as Awa and what the arrival and process is going to look like there?
What has been said, and her desire is to finish her commitments with Valencia.
Valencia.
It according to the Liga Femenina Endesa calendar, they still have one round in the regular season. And one cool thing about the Spanish league is that every round is played in 2 days. So the next round is going to be played this weekend on the 25th, in only one day. It's definitely Valencia is going to the playoffs. I think that they are third in the Spanish league. So I would say there's at least like about a week until she's back. Has Leonie Fibic already?
No.
Yeah, so she's also with this team. She's also going to be
And
basically on the same
Raquel
timeline.
as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Raquel
Yeah.
Carrera. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Oh yes, and Jordan Horston. Jordan Horston is in camp.
Yes.
Yes, well, you were there. I don't have to repeat it. Go for it. Who are the
No, Jordan Horston plans to be available on opening day. I don't know how much of it is her heart's desire and how much of it is medical planning. So it all depends on what is actually going to happen. I know that she's excited to play. She's been through a lot. I'm excited to watch her play. I think she has a lot to offer for this team. When we talk about length and speed and explosion, she brings
Yeah.
that too, but we still don't know. We haven't received confirmation that she's going to be available on the first day.
So let me say, because we've been doing this podcast for a little while. I've been a little bit on the fence about Jordan Horston,
We
not
have,
because I don't like, and I see individually, it just never made sense to me how Jordan Horston was going to be able to break through when we're having again all of these other curious decisions in the front court. I mean, Lee Yuru,
mhm,
you know, saw not much happening well with Seattle and then really came into her own in her WNBA play in Dallas.
yeah,
Jordan Horston, Nika Mule, like again, I'm literally scratching my head right now. I'm not doing that for effect, but it works, so I'll go with it. Had a little itch, but it's been a head scratcher for me, and that's why I was like, I don't know if I see it. I believe in the vision now. I can see this system benefiting a Jordan Horston. And like I said, I think Lexie Brown as well can play effectively in this system. It's just a matter of, and I think we'll find out pretty soon, because if neither of those players hit the court, then the decision
mm-hmm,
is, as this was several years ago, but it's above me. It's not a coaching thing. It's coming from above, right? AKA
yeah,
the front office. If they do, either the front office is like, we got to do something completely different, which I guess is possible, or it was a Noel Quinn thing. At least that's how it seems. That seems like the
yeah,
logical way to deduce the situation, right?
mm-hmm,
And so we'll see. We'll
yeah,
truly see how that's going to look. But with
yeah.
all of that said, where does Steph Dolson fit in here? And I'm asking because, again, there are people arriving late. There are some injuries, including to Ezzy Magbegor. So I think you're kind of lucky to have a Steph Dolson in that
Mm-hmm,
regard, because
mm-hmm,
she has championship pedigree. She's a really strong body. She sets, oh my gosh, as far as being a screen setter, she's one of my favorite screen setters in the entire league and always has
yeah.
been. So what is the role for a Steph Dolson to start the season, knowing what we know? And what do you think the role is for Steph, Big Mama Steph, throughout the season, assuming that Seattle gets healthy and is completely loaded up?
Yeah, we're certainly going to see a lot of Steph Dolson minutes to start the season. That's almost a given. Steph and Dom are going to be taking the heavier load on the front court to start things. I think that as the season progresses, as he comes back, Steph Dolson is going to be that player who is going to add the depth to the team once once things start getting hard with time management. So staff is going to be that security that the team is going to have for as a backup for Awa and Dom. And I say Awa and Dom because I see her playing a different position from Ezzy. I
Mm,
don't see them as completely equals on the court.
mhm.
So I even see Ezzy perhaps playing a three this year, but that's not where we're going now. So I think that Steph is going to be that that's the security that the team is going to have for the front court.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
I also think that, as you mentioned, she's an amazing pick and roll setter with Natisha Hiedeman and Jade Melbourne. They are great with pick and rolls, and we saw Jade and Steph playing together. That works really well. Natisha Hiedeman has good experience with bigs. So for me, that's who Stephanie Dolson is for the team. She's the security, not in as in like a security guard, but she brings uh a certain depth for the team, which is
Yeah,
something that we were talking about last season that was missing in general.
right. Depth and a veteran stability, to James's point
Yeah.
here. You know,
Bench depth, by
yes,
the way. Just to
bench
clarify,
depth.
sorry.
Right. And then that stability, you had veterans, but your
Yeah.
veterans were starting last year. And so who is leading the attack in the second unit, or when you're kind of putting the rotations in a blender? Steph Dolson can do that for you. And Big Mama can shoot that thing, you know?
Oh, she can. Oh, she can. Yeah, she can. And one thing that so last season the veterans were starting and they were playing very long minutes. They were playing a lot. This season, so when they were tired, well, not when they were tired, when it was time for them to rest, the players that were brought in, they were either very young, just starting in the season, or they were not in the same level as them. So you didn't get, that's where the bench depth didn't happen. And it's the same thing that we're seeing in the guard position, because Natisha Hiedeman is probably going to be a starter. When she goes to the bench, we're going to have Jade Melbourne, who had an amazing season with the Washington Mystics last year. She did amazing. But going back to Steph Dolson, she is going to be that security, that stability. The Storm is going to have an added layer of security to maintain consistency throughout the whole game, which is what was missing the previous years. Again, they may not win, but there's probably going to be consistency. Growth is not linear, of course, but we're going to see progression with time. And I think that that's what Steph brings for the team.
And I think that's important, because when you have a young squad, having a depth veteran like that who can role play, can take the lead if and when necessary in a positionless system. And again, I'm hearing this on the New York side, so it's very fresh on my mind. In a positionless system, sometimes you do need your proper center, an actual five, to be able to bring the ball up the court, to be able to pass, you know, from the top of the key and beyond. And Steph can do all of those things exceptionally well. That's what's kept her in the WNBA and on championship teams. Not every season, but she has titles in the WNBA. So I think that's really interesting. We're going to talk some Flau'Jae. We kind of talked a little bit about the role players, but are there any sneaky players that maybe were invited to training camp that could push and really make some of those role player positions very competitive? We're going to talk about that. But first, I want to take a moment for anyone that doesn't listen to Gotta Get Up. It's fine. I know it's a podcast for New York Liberty fans. This is our podcast for the Seattle Storm. But I dropped some tea. And some of y'all might know that Black Rosie Media, we have a few newsletters, but our Women's Basketball Roundup is our basketball-focused newsletter curated by Brian Florentin, who is our co-host over at Gotta Get Up. And we're going to be dropping some nuggets. Tomorrow, I'm dropping a mini podcast, right? This is going to be a new thing that we add as we start to unravel and unveil our paid subscription tiers. And so this is going to be a really exciting venture that I cannot wait to share with y'all. And one of the first things that we're going to do when it comes to this new venture that we have is to really do some deep dives. And what that means for you as listeners and hopefully subscribers is that you are going to get to hear things that are just going the extra mile. And actually, we're calling it the extra possession because we know that the extra possession is the difference between winning and losing. Hello,
Yeah.
one more rebound. And it's maybe a different conversation that we're having about the 2025 Seattle Storm. So the extra possession is, we're going to talk about offensive rebounds that we're going to talk about turnover that became a layup. We're going to talk about that hockey assist, the pass before the pass that nobody put in the box score. And it is going to be a deeper analysis than what we do on the show. And we go pretty long on these shows, but it's going to go even further. We're talking game scrums, conversations that start where the headlines stop. And so we want you to join us here for that. And when you subscribe, you can subscribe for $5 a month, or you can become a Legacy 22 subscriber. You pay $47 for the whole year, and that is a 22% discount. And if you know ball, then you know the number 22 is kind of a big deal in women's basketball. You'll also get exclusive access to specific Slack channels where you can help us curate not only specific topics at times in the newsletter, but also for our shows. And so episode 1 is going to drop next Wednesday. We release the women's basketball roundup every Wednesday and Friday. So we'll have a new episode tomorrow where you're going to hear me unveil this in that newsletter. So go ahead and subscribe to the women's basketball roundup. I'll drop the link in just a minute, but you're not going to want to miss it. We've got some exciting things happening. Brian does a great job curating the newsletter, and Jordan and I will be contributing by what we're doing in the field. Of course, Jordan is there in Seattle. I travel all over the place and talk to all kinds of people, including Seattle. So we've got some fun things. So we hope that you will join us on that endeavor. But listen, another person that we got to talk about, Category 4. That's right, Flau'Jae Johnson.
4.
My goodness, what a ball of energy. And you know what? I got to make a confession here.
Ooh.
It's the Kim Mulkey of it all, where it's not that I underrated. I never underestimated Flau'Jae. I just could only tolerate LSU in very specific and small batches.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't know if you saw, there is that huge women's basketball influencer, Coach Jay. She kind of had a viral video in which she talks, I don't know if you saw that one, in which she talks about how she went to LSU, and the day LSU won a national championship, it was one of the best days of her life. But Kim Mulkey is the coach of the team, so that kind of gives it all a sour taste. Yeah, just to say that, like, that makes things, it makes it hard to fully appreciate that team.
Kim Mulkey is just a lot to handle, and I don't agree with how she's handled things. But but Flau'Jae has always been a vibe, and her press conference, her media day press conference, was in whole vibe. Not Alexis being like, "When are you going to flip the table on the live stream, or are you waiting to see if Ezzy's injury heals?" I already talked about that. I was like, I am reserving the right to flip a table later. We got to see how the injury works out. Also, I will not be flipping this table. I can shake it though. I don't know if y'all can see it. It's the Category 4 storm coming in. We're talking about Flau'Jae, but if it's beyond 8 weeks, and if it don't look the way it's supposed to look, then the tables will be flipped. Tables will be flipped. But let's hear a little bit from Flau'Jae, including, I thought she had such an adorable / hilarious story. She is a great storyteller.
Yeah,
but
she is.
I could listen to her speak all day. Podcast incoming probably. Does she already have? I don't know. Everyone has a podcast these days. Like, I don't even know. Even I have a lot of podcasts. But I loved her story about. She was asked about, of course, the trade and what she did or didn't know about that. But then also, what she wants to bring to this squad. So we're gonna hear a little bit from Flau'Jae now.
Okay, so let me tell you, I just seen this podcast where Sue Bird was talking about, Seattle getting me. Mind you, when I walked off the stage, before I knew I was traded, I shook Sue's hand because I seen her in the crowd. So I'm shaking her hand. I'm thinking we dapping up, and she know I done been traded. But no, it's been cool. I think just everybody's just been so welcoming, right? And I think it's just been such a good environment. Coach Sonia, she's cool. She's like 180 from Kilmoki, right? So Coach Moki's, you know how Coach Moki is, and Sonia, she's like, good job, guys. And I was like, okay. But it's been super cool. I think the environment's cool. I love Seattle. My apartment is great. It has views. So it's been easy for me to get settled in. You know, I'm from Savannah. I'm all the way in the West Coast, but my teammates, they've been great, just welcoming me. And just like this system is something that I've been super excited about. It's really free. It's really flowing. It's really reads. It's really basketball IQ. So it's been good. And I'm a studier of the game, a student of the game. So I'm just like continuing to learn, but I'm piecing it together for sure.
Flau'Jae is great. I mean, it's a dream to play with a player with that energy. Like, even without talking about her basketball, just the person that she is. She has a great heart, and she always brings 100% of her energy in the gym. She's a great teammate, and of course, her basketball skills are amazing. You all saw the clip how she crossed a practice player yesterday. She just does those stuff naturally. So she's just a great basketball player and a great human. So I'm really glad to play with her.
I do think Flau'Jae brings a completely different energy to this Seattle Storm team. And listen, Tammy, you now I know Tammy been watching the show for a while, and we appreciate you, Tammy, Craig as well. Y'all know we talk about this. We talk about, and we talked about this with Skylar Diggins, that historically, see, I am not kicking her off, y'all. I just want y'all to know. Let the record state, Erica is not kicking her off. But don't worry, we have some tech plans for Hoeta. She'll come back. I'm just going to take her off the screen for just a moment while she gets that tech together. But, Hoeta has talked about this, that there's almost an expectation. It's like the antithesis of New York. In New York, we are loud people. We like our athletes to be passionate. And it seems like I can only go by what folks like Hoeta say, because again, I've never quite lived in Seattle, although I'm there all the time. But it's a little bit more of a prim and proper. It's a little bit more of a subdued. And I think at times that created a challenge with a player like Skylar Diggins, who's going to speak her mind. Flau'Jae comes in and she has a lot of energy, and it's going to be interesting to see how that energy is embraced in a system that seems like it is set up to be an exciting system, Hoeta. This system, I think, that Sonia Raman wants to run is about exciting basketball, not frantic basketball, but exciting basketball. You also heard Flau'Jae talk about it. This is a system that she's excited for because she is a studier of the game. She likes to put her basketball IQ to the test. And so, what are your thoughts on kind of alluding to what Tammy is alluding to here, that she's not a typical Seattle player or someone who kind of fits in what Seattle tends to embrace in a basketball player, is maybe a good way of saying it. Do you think that she has to, or this team has to be successful for Flau'Jae to be fully accepted? And then you have Natisha Hiedeman there as well. I think you could probably say the same for Natisha as well.
Yeah, and Tammy said, if you know, you know, and we know. And we have been talking about this here quite often. I think I bring that a lot about how the Seattle Storm is a team from Seattle, and it's a very Seattle team in terms of the Seattle culture of being a little more quiet, composed, of not having confrontations. When it comes to the Seattle culture, the way that people are here, and I'm not saying that about any specific person or that the Seattle Storm is like that, but it's a very passive aggressive type of city. And it's a place where people don't want to deal with things straight on. It's always let's see how it goes. Let's see If you think that way, sure, I'm not going to interact with you. I'm not going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss or anything. And we do talk about how it's important to agree to disagree. There's not a lot of that here. It's like if you don't, there's not a lot of confrontation. There's not a lot of back and forth. People are very closed in their circles. People are very quiet, and we've had that culture for a long time because Subert is a quiet person, right? Subert is reserved. She usually stays on her lane and doesn't, and so that's a very, even though she's an East Coaster, she's from the New York State.
Soyasset, New York, Long Island.
Yeah, she does have a very Seattle way
Well,
of
she went to
being.
UConn, number one. Also,
Exactly.
Long
There
Island
is,
is its own place, and I mean, there's some other
yeah,
demographics that I could break down, but
exactly,
if you know,
exactly.
you know.
So,
This is,
yeah,
you know, what I think is funny about this, Craig, is that you say love you guys, but I think this may be particular to the Storm organization. I
not
think
really.
even the comment is like hilarious. I can't speak for the Seahawks. I see you talking about the Seahawks. I see you talking about Gary Payton, Sean Kemp. You know what I can say? Those are men.
Yep, those are men. Mm-hmm.
So I can't speak to that. I did not cover those teams. I mean the Supersonics is a very particular time period, and I, even on the East Coast, I was pretty young, but I did enjoy watching the Supersonics, but I didn't know enough to know about culture. But what I can say is those are men.
Yeah.
Those are different sports. You know, ask Megan Rapinoe how she was embraced in Seattle. I think she was embraced at first by a very specific group, and
Yeah.
then it took time. And then when she started speaking up, you know, again, but
Mm-hmm.
ask Megan Rapinoe about that. But also, I cover, I don't as much now, but I covered the Seattle Kraken for their first 5 seasons, 4.5. That is a team that could not be honest about things that I would
Yeah.
scream on the internet about. And you know, I was told I was being I don't even know what, a New
Yeah.
Yorker. I was like, I don't know. I call a spade a spade. What do you want? And then
Yeah.
what do? They are now moving on from their first ever GM after promoting him instead of just saying, "Hey, this isn't working," and maybe instead of firing another coach, we should make a change in management. That's what we kind of saw happening with the Seattle Storm. So maybe it is just the Storm and the Kraken. Maybe it's a CPA/Key Arena thing. I don't know.
No. No,
I don't know.
Seattle is a place where people want to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
I was going to talk
like
about that. Okay,
you loved
I
Sky.
was going to
I love
say,
Sky. Craig,
yeah,
we in this room love Sky. The we
yeah.
outside, not everyone in Seattle loves Skylar
No,
Diggins.
and when stories started to come out, when rumors started to come out about her
And
being signed by the Storm,
even I know
I
this one too. Even
don't
I
know
know
who is
this one.
that. I don't
It's
know who that one
football.
is.
So
Oh,
there you go. Anyway,
okay, it's men. Yeah. So when the rumors started about Skylar Diggins coming to Seattle, listen, people think that I don't see things, but people are not, Storm fans were not happy about it. And they were saying things like she doesn't have she doesn't have the attitude that we like. She is trouble. There were people who said,
Winsome said, "Those are men" is a complete sentence. I mean,
listen, it's Lesbian Visibility Week. More
there you
than
go.
ever, I
Happy
am
Lesbian
not going
Visibility
to.
Week.
Uh,
I said Happy Lesbian Visibility
Thank you.
Week.
You see, I have here a
Yes.
Pride book and Sue Bird, so
There you
just
go.
doing it in full
And
form.
Beyonce.
And Beyonce is for us, So, but anyway, so there were people who call her crazy. You heard all sorts of things about Skylar, and you know, there is a very specific group of people who really liked her, but it's that kind of thing, there is that that saying that black people have to work twice as hard to get to where, oh, I'm sorry, this is a quote from Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I also have a Hamilton book here. uh, but he says that Latinos have to work 1,000 times harder to get halfway as far as American and white people. And I say that that's also true for other minorities, for black women, for trans people. But here we're talking about Skylar Diggins, who is herself, and we were talking about about how confident Dom is and how that doesn't make her have an ego. Like, what's the problem of a woman knowing who she is, and what's the problem with a black young not American woman knowing exactly who she is and what she can do?
Because we can't be manipulated.
Yes, and what's the problem with Skylar Diggins speaking up about the mistreatment that she got in different franchises, Anyways, anywho, let's go back to how
Yeah, there's
Seattle's
a lot there, and
embracing
we talk about it,
Flau'Jae.
and we are
Yeah,
not afraid to talk
and
about it.
no, we're not afraid to talk about it. And like Erika said, the internet came at her, like, people were coming at me today because I made a comment about the Seattle Storm. At this point I got used to it. I got a little break from some fandoms, but people really like to just say shit under my stuff. So I think that Flau'Jae does have that personality and that energy that is not common to the Seattle Storm. People are gonna have to get used to it. I'm sorry. People are gonna have to get used to
Period.
it. People are gonna have to understand that women's basketball and women's sports today is not women's basketball and women's sports in the 2000s, which is when you had Sue Bird as the Super is basically the queen of Seattle. That's Most players are not like that anymore. Players are going to speak their mind. Players are going to make people mad. Players are going to speak their mind and just be their true selves. And Seattle needs to embrace it. It seems like Flau'Jae is being embraced from the get-go. She has a very her personality just makes you like her immediately.
100%.
She has that type of personality that you see her and you immediately like, oh, here's like talking about Lesbian Visibility Week. She has that personality that you immediately feel drawn to her. So
100%.
that's what she brings to the franchise, and I think people are embracing that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see. And we will continue to talk about that because that is a deep topic. And I think you're right. Flau'Jae is such a likable person. And again, I feel like I'm getting to know her in a completely different light because I just could not, I could not tolerate a lot of the conversation that came
Yeah.
with LSU because of Kim Mulkey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just focused on Flau'Jae's game. And when I didn't have to, I didn't listen to her speak much outside of that
Yeah.
because I just, for my own peace of mind, I scream about a lot of things on the internet. I'm ready to flip tables all the time, but you gotta put a cap on it at some point. And so to hear her in Seattle is going to be really interesting. And we do have a clip of her that will play towards the end where she gets very vulnerable and very open as to why she approaches life and of course basketball the way that she does. So I want to play that. That will be what we play to close out the episode. But let's get into some players that we maybe need to
Computer
see.
back on.
Who is going to make the cut here? Because there are some players on this squad that I think could push for a roster spot, but there's only so many. Now, there are developmental spots that the Seattle Storm have to carry. They have to carry developmental players. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who makes the final roster, but then who gets to stick around as those developmental players. But, who are some of the players kind of on the fringe that you enjoyed watching in the 2 days of training camp that you were at?
Mair, she was doing really good with the team. Eldine, I think that's how you say her name. She was also gelling with
Gelling, yeah.
gelling with the team.
Yeah.
Uh, Jalen Brown, the Jalen Brown that is here, not the other Jalen Brown that's still not here. So I think that those have a really good chance at either making the roster or making a development getting a development spot, especially since they are guards, and the team definitely needs to develop some guards for the future. So I do see those players getting either a spot or a development spot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be curious to see how they fit in here. You know, the the two Jalen's is very interesting, and you've got a few Browns here. VanSlooten, you know, another player. Um, so I think it's going to be curious. I do think that the players that we spoke about for the majority of the episode are going to be the starters and the role players. But again, with that new CBA and the developmental spots, I think it's great to see how Seattle gets a little innovative with a new coach there. And Jeff, hey, thanks for the super chat here. Thank you for
That's
contributing
cool.
here. We appreciate that. And yeah, you know, at first we thought Flau'Jae was disrespected in the trade. You know, I didn't ever think that Flau'Jae was disrespected.
Me neither.
I think that it makes a little more sense why she dropped. I think it was so curious that she or actually no, that still doesn't really make sense to me why she dropped. And it worked out for Seattle. So, I don't ever think she was necessarily disrespected. I just thought it was such a weird way for the two teams to agree. And I guess good on both of them that they have integrity, because like what happens if one person, specifically the team with the higher pick, doesn't do what that could have been a
Exactly.
hot mess, but then you can't tell anyone because you didn't make the trade public. So anyway, it was just a weird way of going about what both teams were trying to do. But I do think overwhelmingly people agreed that Flau'Jae was the higher valued player
Mm-hmm.
in the trade. So it was just curious.
100%.
It was just curious. And again, Marta Suarez is someone that I'm very eager to see and might be more of a role player in a rookie season as compared to Flau'Jae, who, again, even not being a top 5 pick, is absolutely should be a player that starts. I don't really think that that's a question.
Oh no, I have no doubt that Flau'Jae is going to be a starter. She's going not only because she's one of the first round picks. I mean, we didn't see a second overall pick play last year, but from what from what she's showing on the court and with practice, and from what players and coach are saying, she's definitely going to have a pretty big role with this team.
Yeah, I mean, and what do you make of this question in the chat about Mac?
I think she makes the team because she was already there last year. She already knows the system, and it makes it look like the Storm wants uh to stick with her. You know, she's going to be there to as a backup. That's someone who was there last year, and they decided to bring her in, so they're going to keep her. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and Craig asking also, who are the wings aside from Horston and Katie Lou Samuelson? Well, Katie Lou is injured. I think it's an interesting question. I think you already alluded to that Ezzy might play more of a 3.
Yeah.
I could see that. I think Dominique Malonga, I would not calling her a wing is like an absolute stretch, but again, the positionless game is on in full effect in Seattle. Dominique Malonga, I don't think has the perimeter shooting that you would consider, or I honestly really don't. I guess I'll say it this way. I have not locked in on her perimeter game. I'm not saying she can't shoot from the perimeter. What I'm saying is that if she is, it's not the first or like second, third, fourth, or fifth part of her game that you
Mm-hmm.
focus on. So I just
Yeah.
don't think it's fully developed. But yeah, I mean, who else do you think can play a wing, or do you kind of need a wing? Where's the shooting gonna come from?
So my perception is that the shooting is gonna come from the number two position, and for the wing, I see as in Magbegor having more of wing potential than Don Malonga, just because it seems a waste to not use Malonga in the paint.
I would
So
agree.
I am not a coach, but if I were a coach, I wouldn't. That's not how I would use Ezzy. Sorry, Dom, the three-letter players keep
I know, yeah, there's
confusing
a
me.
lot.
So I think that it's going to be. I mean, of course, Katie Lou is probably not gonna be back. We don't know when Katie Lou is back. But Jordan Horston is certainly going to be playing the wing. And I think that they might also play a little bit and perhaps even try Flau'Jae on, maybe stretch her to the three here and there if they want to play Ezzy more in the paint as a four. So I do see, again, I'm saying that keeping the positionless part in mind. I know that Flau'Jae is more of a shooting guard. So I could see that happening. I could see perhaps Flau'Jae taking that spot, especially if we don't know if Jordan Horston is effectively back the first day of the season. And Ezzy is also out, so the Storm is going to have a lot to figure out.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for sure. We're at that part where we're going to start wrapping with any questions or comments that you have. Big Erica, hey, I like your name and the way you spell it. Sorry if I missed it, but did the Seattle draft a point guard? I think it's what is missing for them. I think a PG, Flau'Jae, and Dom can be a good trio for the future. I would agree with you. And not just
Yeah.
because your name is also Erica, but we've talked about this on the show before. And I talked about it earlier on today's show. I still believe in a true point guard. I do
Me
not
too.
think Natisha Hiedeman has enough reps to be what I would consider, you know, a top tier point guard right now. I think she's gonna be pushed into that role. So it's probably Natisha Hiedeman. I do think Flau'Jae will play on the ball as well. I
Me
think she'll
too.
play a little bit of a flex position. But again, if this is a team that wants to be in transition, in some ways that doesn't matter as much. Now point guard, as far as who's going to be the leader, the vocal leader from the backcourt, that's a very interesting question. And I would say it's likely more of a Flau'Jae than a Hiedeman.
Yeah.
That's just my gut feeling right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the reasons why I said that one of the players who might make the team, or is at least going to get a development spot, is Taina Mair, because she is a point guard and she
That's a good
could
point.
be that backup. Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm forgetting a lot about Jade Melbourne, who is she's a true
That's
point guard.
uh,
So
that's true.
You have Natisha Hiedeman, and then you have Jade Melbourne. Those are very solid point guard. Jade is more of a true point guard than
Yes,
Natisha,
that's
I
true.
would say.
I would agree.
But Natisha did a for me, she did an amazing job with the Lynx playing the PG role. So I think that she's going to be that that PG voice, and Flau'Jae is going to be right there to she's going to be, I think, the most vocal on the court in terms of what the team should do. But Natisha Hiedeman, for me, I think there's no other option but Natisha Hiedeman, who's going to play the point, and
Yeah.
Jade as her backup. I truly don't see Flau'Jae playing as a point guard for this team,
I
just
don't think
because of
point
her
guard, yeah.
just because of her point, just of how much she can score, and this
Yeah.
team needs that. So for me, it's going to be Natisha Hiedeman and Jade Melbourne, and then Taina Mair, who is going to either make the team or make it as a development player. We also have an interview with her. I don't know if it's up on YouTube. I did ask her about how playing under Carol Lawson helped her. Carol Lawson, who was also a point guard in the
Yep.
WNBA. So that's why I think Taina Mair has a lot of potential to make this team.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick as well. And actually, I like that you mentioned Jade again because we did get a comment on YouTube about just that. It's like, hey, and you mentioned it earlier, was really good last year on a very young, exciting team. And this is a young Seattle team.
Hmm.
And arguably have a few more pieces. I think I would say the pieces in Seattle compared to last year's Washington team that was very young and I think overperformed
Yeah,
comparative to what people expected from them. I think the difference in Seattle is that yes, it's still a young squad, and I think that the pieces that they have are a little bit um their game is more well defined
I agree with you.
in
Yeah,
in the WNBA, yes, but also in the women's basketball space, specifically thinking about Flau'Jae and her potential role. So, but I think
mhm.
Jade Melbourne is likely, and but me included, I'm calling myself out, is someone who's underrated coming
I
into the
agree with
season.
you. I agree with you. Jade
Yeah.
has always been an underrated player. She started with the Seattle Storm, so she learned a lot from Sue Bird. She didn't
Yep.
have a lot of play time, but when she went to the Mystics, she got to play a lot.
Yep.
And I really liked what I saw. She was very solid for them, and she's probably going to bring that to the Storm too. It's going to be great for Natisha Hiedeman to have a true point guard to back her and to have that connection between Jade and staff. And again, that's what we were talking about in terms of
Mhm.
bench depth. And
Right.
that's what the Seattle Storm has this year. And that's going to make a big difference.
I agree. I agree. So I'm going to ask you this question, Roberta, and I'm also asking anyone who's in the chat still. We're going to start wrapping up here, but I want to know, after everything that we've seen through training camp and the conversation that we had today, Roberta and our audience, are you more or less excited about the 2026 Seattle Storm than you were on draft night?
I am much more excited than I was on draft night. I gotta say,
Okay.
watching that practice, it really it makes you buy into the message. It makes you buy into the idea of a future. That's what has been missing for the Storm, that
Mm,
identity. And I feel that the newness is an identity that this team is going to carry, and they're going to be able to grow together, and make that newness become experience growth
mm,
together. And these past years, it was all over the place. You had really young players, you had true veterans, and things weren't meeting in the middle. I am very excited about the Storm now. Like I said, I still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but I think that they are going to win more than I was expecting after seeing these first moves. Now I am excited to see how it comes together in the first preseason game this Saturday. That's something that I am
yes.
very much looking forward to.
Yeah, 100%. And we are going to cover all of that. But let us know, last chance, if you haven't put it in there, are you more or less excited about the 2026 Seattle Storm now that we have a few days of training camp and like you said, a game coming up. So, um what would you say is success? Roberta, I'm going to ask the question that you kind of asked. It's similar to what you asked Sonia Raman, but how are you defining success for this team?
Consistency. I think
Mm,
that consistency is going to be the key for them. And I think for me at least, it's hard to measure consistency when you're losing, because I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to professional sports, you want to win, right?
yep.
So if you're consistent but you lose, then what's the sense of it? But when you're trying to grow, you have to be realistic also, because at the end of the day, only one team is the champion. You have 15 15 teams, right? 15 teams, only 8 make the playoffs. So, wait, I'm not good with math in English. So, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. No, 12 make, yes. So, uh, if 8 make the playoffs, now almost half of the league is not going to make the playoffs. And you have to compare the Storm not only with the Seattle Storm, you have to compare the Storm with Las Vegas Aces, Las Vegas Aces, New York Liberty. You have a stacked Chicago Sky. The Indiana Fever is looking good. Atlanta Dream. So how does Seattle measure near next to those teams? So
Right.
that's why I'm saying that I don't think they make the playoffs. I think it's because other teams are building rosters. They are playoff ready. I don't think this Seattle Storm team is going to be playoff ready. I think they have the perfect measure of a rebuild. That's how I see this team. A rebuild. They have young players and they have strong veterans who are going to bring that who's going to help the younglings to go far.
Yeah, for a team that I said if I had to, and I was asked for my, for the CBS Sports where I contribute, to pick like a loser in free agency, I said Seattle, mostly because of
Yeah, me too.
everything that exited, right? But they had to go through that to then get, I think, what's a really successful draft.
Yeah.
So I am with Tammy here, more excited, definitely more excited about after hearing and seeing what's transpiring, or at least through your reporting. I haven't gotten out to Seattle yet, but I am excited and tempering those expectations. James saying we're gonna shock the world. Watch, I love it. And you know what? There's someone else who has a lot of energy and just a really good outlook on life, and that is Flau'Jae Johnson, who is
Yeah.
on this roster and again has really, really impressed me. We're gonna close out the show. I'm gonna let Flau'Jae close it out. I thought she just had some great things, and I didn't even pick all of the clips, but stick with us here at Black Rosie Media. We continually have clips. Shout out to Alexis, who's helping get those clips out. We
Yeah.
have Roberta on the ground in Seattle, boots on the ground in Seattle. We have Brian, and soon me, boots on the ground in New York, and we will be coming to you all season long. Our next live stream will be a week from today, Thursday. We're going to be recording most Thursdays. There's just a few where there are some conflicts or a Seattle Storm game, so we won't be recording at the usual time, but Thursdays at 6:30 Pacific time, right here on Black Rosie Media, we will be talking about the Seattle Storm. I'm gonna keep the comments going up on the screen, but the next voice you will hear and the last voice you will hear will be Flau'Jae Johnson. So with that said, hey, thank you everyone for hopping in. We had Tammy here and Craig, Jeff, James. Who else did we have? Big Erica, let's go. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your super chat. I saw Winsome was here earlier. That was fantastic to see Winsome. Alexis was in the chat. So many great people. We really appreciate you. And keep the comments coming. Daniel was here earlier. Keep the comments coming. We're going to play a short clip from Flau'Jae, and just she really shares her perspective on life. But Roberta and I, we're going to stay silent. Let Flau'Jae take it. We will catch you next week on Tempestade Talk, keeping a local eye on your Seattle Storm. And don't forget, I'll drop it in the chat and it'll be in the show notes. Subscribe to the women's basketball newsletter. I have that audio where I break down exactly what you're going to get in the paid subscriptions that we will roll out in the next week and a half leading up to opening day, which is May 8th. My birthday, actually. So happy birthday to me. Opening day is on my birthday for the 30th season of the WNBA, and we here at Black Rosie Media have you covered. But for Roberta F. Rodriguez, I am Erica L. Ayala. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tempestade Talk, and let's hear from your new face, or at least one of them, of the Seattle Storm, Flau'Jae Johnson.
I think I'm just like grateful. Like, I come from a small town, Savannah, Georgia, right? My father, he was killed before I was born. I was born in November. He was killed in May the same year. So I kind of felt like coming in the world, I had like a chip on my shoulder, right? And I just know that life is not promised and tomorrow is not promised and we only have today. So I kind of just live every day with that mentality and that reminder that, you know, it's a gift for me to be here, you know, and then my presence is a gift to other people. And so I just think that somebody's going to need that light. You know what I'm saying? Like, every day is not a good day. So, like, one of my teammates, they might be down, and maybe if they see me, they'll light up. And I don't know. I just feel like if I have that light and it's in me, like, you know, me and God have this connection, then, you know, I can help other people. And that's just how I'm just grateful.